Hello, dear friends. I'm Dr. Mukesh Pareek, and today I'm present with a small video on the theories propounded by Homi K. Bhabha, an Indian English scholar and critical theorist in the field of post-colonialism. He has given us many terms, and my lecture will be based on the questions which my students can solve in NET and JRF. So let us start with the first concept propounded by Homi K. that is hybridity. One of his central ideas is that of hybridization. This term he has taken from another post-colonial theorist, Edward Said, and he describes in this term the emergence of new cultural forms from multiculturalism, because when two or three cultures get mixed, with this new concept of the term after post-colonialism, because when people go from one culture to another cultures, particularly when they change their countries. So instead of seeing colonialism as something locked in the past, Bhabha shows how its histories and cultures constantly intrude on the present, demanding that we transform our understanding of cross-cultural relations. His work transformed the study of colonialism by applying post-structuralist methodologies to colonial texts. So hybridity is very important because the diasporic people, uh, the people who work in embassies, the people who are either forced migrants, or sometimes in this neo-colonialism, when we suppose somebody is rooted in its culture and still through media gets to wear, gets to get attracted towards the different brands and languages and songs, movies, tastes. So that is also a kind of hybridization, a mixing of two, three, four cultures. Uh, so this is something very important. Next is the concept of ambivalence. The idea of ambivalence given by Bhabha sees culture as consisting of opposite perceptions and dimensions. Bhabha claims that this ambivalence, this duality that presents a split in the identity of the colonized, like we Indians. Now, we are very much rooted in our culture also, but we want to pretend that we are English. Um, so this allows for beings who are a hybrid of their own cultural identity and the colonizer's cultural identity. So up to an extent, this concept is very easy to understand. Like our language, our understanding, our education, everything has become ambivalent. But this ambivalence is again very important to understand, that it is threatening to the colonizer's dominance, because the colonizer feels, because he wants to dominate. Okay, so he would like to propagate, he want to subjugate people with his values of culture, his language, his politics, and he will never like that the person, the other, the person whom he is colonizing would become like him. But ultimately, that person will become like him, but not exactly like him. So then emerges the concept of mimicry. Okay, so hybridization, then the concept of ambivalence. Ambivalence simply means that both the colonizer and the colonized, they don't remain the same, and the relationship between them is quite enigmatic at times. Clear? And then comes the concept of cultural difference and the concept of enunciation. Bhabha presents cultural difference. First of all, one should understand, one should know that for Bhabha, culture is not a static thing. He does not say that culture is something there which can be touched. He says that it is always in the process of change. Okay, and he says that cultural difference as an alternative to cultural diversity. So one should understand the two terms which have already been propounded by Bhabha. He says that cultural difference is another thing and cultural diversity is a different thing. Clear? So I'm making these videos so that at least a student can familiar himself or herself with the terminology given by Bhabha. And my reading is based on my classroom notes, which I provide to my students who come to my institute Cosmos for NET and JRF. And my notes are based on the most famous books like Benedict Anderson's Imagined Communities, uh, Location of Culture by Bhabha, and another is David Huddard's Homi K Rutledge series. So these are three books, which I understood completely, and then given them in my notes. So now I'm talking about, I have already talked about ambivalence and hybridity, and now I'm talking about cultural difference and cultural diversity. In cultural diversity, a culture is an object of empirical knowledge and pre-exists the knower, while cultural difference sees culture as the point at which two or more cultures meet, and it is also where most problems occur. You will be surprised to notice that when we read Baba, we tend to read one line for many times to understand what he wants to convey. It's not like something that someone who reads the line 4 or 5 times that is, a nerd. It means Baba gives a lot many possibilities in one sentence. For example, this cultural difference. So actually, Baba wants to convey that in this post-colonial space throughout the world, with this diaspora coming and going, he simply wants to say that we are not one. Our economic and our ambitious needs have dislocated all of us. Clear? Or whether we are rooted or not, we are somehow under the influence of many cultures at a time. Clear? Now, in such a sense, a single culture cannot claim that it is pristine, pure, and unadulterated. So when someone speaks, first of all, because a culture is always in the sense in the process of change. Okay, so cultural difference is more important than the cultural diversity, because when you talk about cultural diversity, you simply want to again you want to make two cultures like they are knowable entities and they are pristine. Suppose I say that my culture is like this, it means the moment I say my culture is like this, that culture itself is always in the process of change with the arrival of someone other who comes to this culture and tries to understand that culture. So I hope you can understand. I can make this point understandable by giving the example of T.S. Eliot's concept of tradition and individual talent, where he says that tradition never remains the same, it is always in the process of change. So in the same way, culture is not something which is always static. It is in the process of change, and through enunciation, through speaking, someone who is uttering can tell that what a culture is, and the moment something is talked about a culture, it gets changed from the point of view of the other. Okay, so three terms I have just talked about. I can't go in depth because of the paucity of time. That cultural difference is a term, cultural diversity is a term, and enunciation is the term. Okay, and in this process of enunciation and cultural diversity, we come to know about the other terms also, that is third space, which I'll be just discussing shortly. Let me discuss the term mimicry. The term of Baba, that mimicry means it's a state of affairs in colonial countries whereby the colonial power desires its subjugated powers, the others, the people whom they are colonizing, namely the indigenous population of the occupied countries, to look or at least act the same way as the occupiers, and yet fear that very outcome, because it would dilute their own sense of difference and superiority. So then what is mimicry? Mimicry is thus an ambivalent strategy whereby the subaltern people, like we Indians, suppose, simultaneously express our subservience to the more powerful and subvert that power also. It means we cannot speak the same kind of English, with the same accent, with what they use. But with our adulterated pronunciation, we convert their English into a kind of mimicry. Okay, and this is again some of the concepts, which are diluted in this concept of mimicry, the concept of ambivalence. So if you don't understand these terms, kindly do one thing. Uh, at least remember the terms like hybridity, ambivalence, mimicry, third space, cultural difference, cultural diversity, enunciation. So at least one should be familiar with these terms. Okay. Another important thing is dissemination. It was again a term. It was actually an essay written by Bhabha in his book Nation and Narration. What is then dissemination? Uh, it is a system of cultural signification that must be. Actually, Homi K. Bhabha has said that as culture is not a fixed entity, in the same way, nation is also not a fixed entity. Clear? It is always written. Nation is, created. It is not there. The boundaries are always created and recreated, erased and again created. Clear? And through different narratives. That's why Nation and Narration, the title. That nation is actually the thing which has been written, which has reached to us. We have not experienced it. Somebody is there, somebody has written something, somebody has created something out of which we consider that something is there, and this is nation. And then comes the concept of uncanny. Everybody knows that uncanny is a term of psychology, which has already been discussed, by Julia Kristeva and Sigmund Freud. And actually, Bhabha argues in this term uncanny. Uncanny means unhomely. Unhomely means that you don't have a house. Okay, but it is not literal meaning of the term. It is a post-colonial place. A post-colonial place means to say that we are porous beings, porous. We are hybrid beings, and we cannot claim that somewhere we have a country, a home. Okay, and a person's identity is a mixed one. If you read this whole concept of uncanny in the books written by Bhabha, you will be surprised to know that he talks about that even our body is not familiar to us. One example I remember, like suppose I can see myself in this video right now, okay, but I cannot see my back. In the same manner, one more example I remember from the book Nation and Narration. He says that the concept, the narration of Mother India has been created to us. Clear? And Mother India's crown, that is Himalaya, and the feet are Kanyakumari. So if this narration of figure of motherland, Bharat Mata, then the people, of the other country like Russia, if suppose Russia has the same kind of narration, then your mother, India's crown or head is under the feet of Russia, because I hope you can understand, it is again those boundaries which are written and narrations are created. Clear? And when we cross borders, when we become diaspora, when we go to some foreign country, and that unfamiliar space, which we try to understand, so there the kind of feeling which arises in us is Bhabha is talking about in terms of uncanny. So Bhabha talks about his own origins and does not claim a stable and fixed identity. So he says that a person is not a fixed one. So one should understand this, one should accept this physical, psychological and diasporic, political and existential need that we are not the fixed entities. So once we feel that, once we sense that, we start valuing the people who are the other. Clear? And then the concept of third space. What is third space? First of all, my students should also study the concept of Edward de Souza. He has also talked about Souza, Sozja. Souza is again a writer very famous for giving the concept of third space, which we study in cultural studies also. And but the third space given by Homi K. Bhabha is again very important. This he has the title The Third Space, as such in his essay, taken from the work of the influential cultural and colonialist theorist Homi K. Bhabha, it refers to the interstices between colliding cultures. Because in the present scenario, you know that different cultures are coming in contact. We sitting here are too much influenced by the Korean songs, Korean culture, Russian culture, um, Bihari song in London, you know. So it refers to the interstices between colliding cultures, a liminal space which gives rise to something different. So when two, three cultures come together, they give rise to a very different kind of culture, something new, something unrecognizable. So I remember the ending of the novel Inheritance of Loss, where every single character has given me a complete idea of the theories given by Baba. Look at the ending of that novel. You know, altogether that person who migrated to America, and then he comes to back to India, and then he does not remain the same. Clear. And then the judge, um, the character of Sai. If you read that novel, you come to know. And apart from this novel, there are all other novels also, written in under the influence of post-colonialism. They all talk about these terms like what is third space, what is uncanny, what is dissemination, what is mimicry, what is ambivalence, what is cultural difference, what is the concept of enunciation, what is hybridity. Uh, I have given a gist of almost all the terms. I would love if you ask me questions on these terms. And that's it for today. Thank you very much.